Last time, we covered the early life and military exploits of Lucius Cornelius Sulla in the Jugurthine and Cimbric Wars. Today, Sulla will make a name for himself in Asia. In 96 BCE, Sulla was assigned the governorship of Cilicia on the south coast of what is now Turkey. His tenure as governor was soon disrupted by fresh orders from the Senate. His new task was to restore King Ariobarzanes to the throne of Cappadocia, having recently lost it to Mithridates VI of Pontus. The Kingdom of Pontus was a small independent state located on the north coast of Anatolia in what is now Turkey. This area of the world was incorporated into a series of different empires over its long history. In the 5th century BCE, Pontus was a part of the Persian Empire. This would change when Alexander the Great destroyed Persian hegemony in the eastern Mediterranean and replaced it with his own Macedonian Greek one. Because of this change in leadership, the Kingdom of Pontus had both a Greek and Persian identity. The Greek-speaking population mostly lived on the coast of the Black Sea, while the Persians lived in the highlands. This bilingual population explains why the names of the rulers of this kingdom consist of a Persian name followed by a Greek epithet. For example, the Kingdom of Pontus was founded by a Persian nobleman named Mithridates I, Katistes. Mithridates is the name of a Persian god, and Katistes means founder in Greek. By the time that Sulla made his way to the Kingdom of Pontus, the political situation had shifted significantly in Anatolia. Since the Roman-Seleucid Wars of the 2nd century BCE, Roman interest in Anatolia had expanded greatly. For most of the first half of the 2nd century, the Romans acted as an arbiter of local disputes when any of the independent kingdoms of Anatolia should find themselves in conflict with another. One Roman ally in Anatolia, Attalus III, king of Pergamon, had no natural children, and decided to leave his kingdom to the Romans in his will. He reasoned that the Romans would eventually take over the land anyway, and that perhaps he could avoid bloodshed by simply giving the kingdom to them, which he did in 133 BCE. This land grant only intensified Rome's involvement in the power politics of Anatolia. This continued and expanding Roman interest in Anatolia explains why, when Mithridates VI took power in the Kingdom of Pontus, he had a decidedly anti-Roman agenda. He saw Rome's incorporation of the Old Kingdom of Pergamon into its empire as a direct threat to his own kingdom. To counter this, he engaged in regular campaigns to expand his own kingdom in defiance of the will of the Roman Senate. By the time Sulla came to visit, his lands extended to the east and north shores of the Black Sea. Sandwiched in between Roman Cilicia and the lands of Mithridates was the small kingdom of Cappadocia. Mithridates had long had eyes on the kingdom. Indeed, his own father, Mithridates V Euergetes, attempted to gain control of the kingdom through a marriage alliance between his own daughter and the reigning king of Cappadocia at the time, Ariarathes VI. Ariarathes was a child when he ascended to the throne, and was largely controlled by his regent mother, Laodice, daughter of Mithridates V. This older Mithridates imagined that by marrying Ariarathes to his daughter, he would be easier to control. This arrangement worked, for a while anyway. When Mithridates V died in 120 BCE, the throne of Pontus went to his son Mithridates VI. Mithridates VI apparently came into conflict with Ariarathes, who was growing up and wanted to take more of an active role in his own government. To counter this impulse, Mithridates VI installed a new vizier for the young king, a man named Gordius. The relationship between Gordius and Ariarathes was never good, largely because Gordius killed Ariarathes' father, Eventually, Gordius would kill Ariarathes VII as well, on orders from Mithridates VI, who subsequently installed his 9-year-old son, Ariarathes IX, on the throne, with Gordius as his regent, of course. One gets the sense that the Romans were just as confused as we are by all of this backstabbing and double-dealing. They demanded that Mithridates VI relinquish his interest in Cappadocia and allow its residents to vote for a new king. The people chose Ariobarzanes I, friend of Rome. This man would rule Cappadocia for a while before he was deposed by Gordius, pretending to act on his own accord, but in reality sent by Mithridates. Of course, Gordius reinstalled Ariarathes as king of Cappadocia. When news of this sudden change in leadership reached Sulla, he sprang into action. The details of Sulla's campaign to restore Ariobarzanes are scant. What we know for sure is that Sulla didn't have many Roman troops in the area, and made do with local allied forces. Despite his lack of time, preparation, and manpower, Sulla was able to successfully invade Cappadocia and depose Ariarathes. His troops hailed him as Imperator for his cunning in battle. This action was a necessary one for a commander to receive a triumph. While Sulla's military achievement was impressive, it was not particularly consequential for the Roman state. But what Sulla did next would be. On his campaign in Cappadocia, Sulla marched to the banks of the Euphrates River, where he encountered a diplomatic mission sent from Persia. The new Persian king, or Shah, of the so-called Parthian Empire, had freshly conquered much territory and was looking to secure his eastern and northern borders. The diplomats that he sent were quite lucky to stumble upon so high-ranking a member of the Roman government as Sulla. These diplomats had only just made peace treaties with the Kushan Empire far to the east in what is now Uzbekistan. That treaty all but guaranteed security for the Persians from that direction. But to their west lay the expanding Roman Empire, which still remained an unknown quantity to them. Sulla, conscious of the political enormity of the situation he found himself in, treated with the Persians. Plutarch tells us about Sulla's negotiating tactics. Alaikae tuto tes megales doke Sulla tuches genestai to proto. This also is thought to have been part of Sulla's great good fortune, that he should be the first Roman with whom the Parthians held conference when they wanted alliance and friendship. On this occasion, too, it is said that he ordered 3 chairs to be set, one for Ariobarzanes, one for Orobazus, and one for himself, and that he sat between them both and gave them audience. For this, the king of Parthia afterwards put Orobazus to death. And while some people condemned Sulla for the airs which he assumed with the barbarians, others accused him of vulgarity and ill-timed arrogance. By placing his chair between the 2 diplomats, Sulla was sending a communication to the Persians. Rome was the superior power and would dictate terms. Despite this antagonism, the meeting was not totally unfruitful. Sulla negotiated a firm border between the 2 empires along the course of the Euphrates River and pledged Roman peace and friendship with Parthia. Although they were humiliated, they might have gotten the last laugh in the end. Among the delegation from Persia was a Chaldean seer. This man examined Sulla's face and movements closely before pronouncing a prophecy. He said that Sulla would become the greatest man in the world, but that he would die at the height of his fame and power. Apparently, this prophecy would haunt Sulla for the rest of his life. Having successfully negotiated with the Persians, Sulla lingered in Asia for another year or 2. He was able to repel a fresh invasion from Armenia into Cappadocia, and then left for Rome soon thereafter, in either 93 or 92 BCE. When he returned to the capital, his political enemies immediately brought him up on charges of taking bribes from the Persian ambassadors. Fortunately for Sulla, his accuser refused to present his argument in court, and the charge was eventually dropped. But the damage was done to his political ambitions. Sulla would spend the next several years unsuccessfully campaigning for higher office. While Sulla's political career stalled, the Roman state was gripped by another outbreak of war. This conflict is known to us as the Social War. If you'll remember, we covered the causes of the Social War in the Gaius Marius series, which you can find here. At the outset of hostilities, Sulla was assigned to be legate to the consul Lucius Julius Caesar and accompanied him to the southern theater of the war. He would go on to distinguish himself multiple times in combat over the next 3 years, allowing Sulla to finally win the consulship. Join me next time as we watch Lucius Cornelius Sulla destroy the Roman constitution. I'm Matt Lupu. Thanks for listening.